We're going to jump right into our first kind of slideshow here, just to kind of stimulate discussion around placemaking. And placemaking, I don't have a definition slide of what placemaking is, but in general, it's the idea of when you go to an area, you try to create an area that draws people into it as a destination and creates a sense of place that you want to be. Whether it's cafes, or it's a marketplace, or a community center, or an urban ag thing that you want to see, it's something like that. So they can be organically created, just naturally, like down the middle of a boulevard, like out in Berkeley by the Cheeseboard Collective. They go right down the middle of their street, or you can do it more deliberately and be deliberate, create things deliberately. So this is the slides that we're going to go through just to elicit the notion of placemaking. Some of these pictures I'm just going to go through are from a recent trip I had to Vancouver. Anyone been to Vancouver?
Love it.
Yeah. So Vancouver, for those of you who haven't been there, for those of you who have been, I know you know it will resonate. But those of you who haven't been there, Vancouver is a fairly dense city, but you don't feel it because of their deliberate focus on pedestrian. Yes.
Kirk,
yes,
it actually is the city in North America, the #1 city in North America with the tallest residential high-rises in North America, even more than New York.
Wow. Well, we're going to go through some of those, because again, a little bit is going to seem like a little bit of a slideshow of my trip, but I tried not to make a lot of family pictures. But I tried to capture the essence of things that make it really exciting. So I'm just going to sort of breeze through these to give you an idea. But just so you can see in the background, this is not Stanley Park. This was Granville Island, and in the background you see a fairly significant bridge, and we're going to see something pretty cool on what they integrated to kind of open your eyes a little bit. Just general access to things that you want to experience, whether it's flowers or spices and fruits and vegetables. It's like a farmer's market type thing. These are California peaches in Vancouver. I think we can get those pretty quickly over here. And just general, excitement around. This is again in a kind of a warehouse style environment where you can create just an open air space and again have a sense of where you can go to. Very, very busy outdoor plazas and outdoor space. Something that engages. You can see there's a lot of areas just to sit and just kind of be and relax, and that's kind of the essence of placemaking. So, yes, Ken.
Is this under the bridge?
So this is right next to it.
Right next
You can see the span here, and as Councilman Olivier talked, look at these buildings behind you. Just to give you scale reference, I counted the floors. They're all about 30 stories. And we know there's a recent project that was put forth in our area here. The Volar's 25 floors. These are all bigger than that one. And we're going to go through I have a couple different areas just to talk about things. We focused a little bit on buildings, pedestrian and transportation, and bicycles, just to give, again, to start a conversation. So just to, again, give you a sense of the scale of but the openness without feeling overcrowded by certain things. It's got automobiles go through there, but they're there, but they're not a major portion of what this is. And they are very respectful to pedestrians. And it's really interesting how it's a lot of 1 lanes or 2 lanes and kind of circuitous, so people don't just go flying down the neighborhood in this area. But it's a very industrious and very active area with the community. Little pop-up type shops and fun things just to keep people going.
But this is a commercial area. It's not residential.
This is a commercial area. That's correct. So absolutely, and they made a deliberate effort to do this, but it's actually beyond commercial because besides that bridge in the background, they actually have a working cement factory, literally on the other side of these streets here, and you don't even notice it. And they've integrated artwork onto their silos. This is a working cement plant. You can see the residential stuff in the background. It's not all that far. It's about a half a mile away. But the cement trucks they're all painted, and they've created a way to engage the community with something that's already there, and in an interesting way that is non-standard. Little crafts. This guy's blowing glass. again, just flipping through these just to get a sense for what the area is. This is Bouchard Gardens, another destination, very beautiful. Again, other things that create a sense of place where you want to go. This is a downtown area. This is a very residential area. This is their gas lamp district, or the equivalent of the gas lamp district, where they have open plazas and deliberate ways to reduce car congestion, but still keep traffic flowing. And then Yaletown is another area, which is, again, it's a commercial area, but you see residential is right down the street here, and it's really important to see it's literally on the next block. So it's really possible to integrate that kind of sense of activity, destination, and still have a residential high-density feel. This is very high-density tower. These are not small buildings, and they're very substantial, but you don't feel them because of the way it's deliberately designed. So I'm going to just continue to kind of flip through, but I'm going to pause for a minute just to elicit, what would we want as a community here in our commercial area right over here, which is blended with residential. What would we want to see here as types of activities? Yes, sir.
What are you talking about, commercial area? What area are you talking about?
Winchester and Stevens Creek. I'm talking about
Winchester and Stevens Creek.
right now. I'm trying to talk about the destination.
So Santana Row's one corner.
Santana Row's one quarter. Valley
And
Fair
so
is the.
That's already taken. Santana Row's taken. Then that leaves two other corners. You're talking about.
Yes, those are two additional corners. There's also opportunities, I think, in both of those areas. Again, that's part of the discussion. I think is what do we want to see here, rather than what does a developer see and want to put there. What can we do with the developer to encourage something that we want to incorporate in what they want to expand on? Because the developer is going to develop the best way they can to make the most revenue, but if we can do something with the developer in a sense that how can we incorporate our needs and our wants into a development.
They're not very big lots, these corners, so you'd have to stretch it up either Stevens Creek or stretch it down Winchester, right? Because these are, you're talking about what, 4 acres, 5 acres per maybe a 10-acre site for all this going on, where we're talking, a third of an acre, a half an acre, 1 acre, but then a 1 acre, 1 acre, 1 acre spread out over miles up Stevens Creek and down Winchester.
So
I guess I'm just.
Yep, no, that's fair, and we have an opportunity here to look at more than just the one direction, because the Stevens Creek Advisory Urban Village is going on as well, and that goes horizontally or east-west in the area, so that's also opportunity for growth. Down Winchester is the opportunity for growth, a little bit north. Valley Fair has some plans that they're implementing now as part of their projects.
But it seems like a destination place like Santana Row, City of San Jose can't get it right, but Santana Row got it right. People want to go there as a destination place.
It's a destination.
But it's fairly, it's a large area and it's condensed and, it's a great place to go visit. But now you step outside of that, now you're in the public arena, the public street, a lot of traffic. It's, I can see downtown Campbell, what a great place to go. The traffic's not buzzing by you, but it's still going. But then Stevens Creek, Winchester, it's a major transit corridor, they call it. It's just too much traffic, so.
Okay, let's go ahead, Ken, and then Chris.
My comment would be initially to follow up on what we just heard. Santana Row has been done, and it's been done very well, but it's high-end. And it's not necessarily for the immediate neighbors, although we're welcome over there, but it wouldn't succeed with just the support of the surrounding neighborhoods. Draws a larger area. What we need in addition to that is something that's more suited to the actual people who live here, which would be on a more modest scale as far as the cost of anything. Maybe some retail stores that are not Gucci, some restaurants that are not a steakhouse, and some open spaces similar to what they have over there, which I think has been done fairly well. But what I'm saying is that what we need is something like Santana Row, but toned down more to a level that everyone can afford.
A little more affordability is
Yes.
what I'm hearing loud and as a strong message.
Plus some things like grocery stores, drugstores, a post office would be nice.
Neighborhood retail stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, Chris?
My concern kind of tags off to what Ken Coleman was saying, in that, you know, I believe Stevens Creek and Winchester, but more so Stevens Creek, is and needs to remain a major boulevard, major automobile carrying capacity. You know, if we think about diminishing the carrying capacity of Stevens Creek and Winchester, I think that, you know, it's gonna have negative consequences to a lot of people coming through this area. And like Ken was saying, you know, the lots aren't very big. I mean, you look at Subaru dealership taking over that other building, right? The Winchester, I guess it's the Winchester Plaza there.
Shopping center.
That building is. That lot is, I'm not sure if it's a single parcel or if it's double parcel, but
Three.
it's 3 parcels. That's gotta be what, like 3.5 acres? If that, it's not a whole lot of space. To be able to have a developer pick up, or a current owner, pick up enough square footage and land mass to be able to build out something of this nature. You know, I don't know how likely is it that that's gonna happen? You know, I think if somebody like Westfield that's got a greater land mass, you know, would have a better capability of being able to provide something like that for the neighborhood. But I wouldn't guess that to be in Westfield's vision. You know,
So,
and-
well, I don't want to speak for any one particular company, but let's just keep getting feedback. Steve, and then we're going to keep going around, and then we'll come over here.
So a couple thoughts. One is if we really want to let our imagination go, then it seems to me that to do something big, like and say, well, we're going to take Stevens Creek running east-west, and we're going to take it underground and bypass Winchester completely. And you build parking at the exterior of an area, and imagine you made Winchester and Stevens Creek a closed-off walking area only. When I go to cities like Frankfurt or Munich or places like that, you have blocks and blocks of area that is retail and housing. If there are no cars, people walk for blocks, and it activates the entire space. And then the issue is really finding a way to make the circulation work. But it doesn't take invention, because these things have been done in other places. What it takes is starting with trying to get some ideas on what it might be, and not start with the dollar cost, and say, let's just think about it completely differently. And then related to what you showed in one of the pictures, you've been down into San Pedro Square, downtown San Jose, where they have all the small restaurants, and you get coffee and different kinds of foods, and sit outside and inside, and you know, you could easily imagine something like that going on the Santana West side, which is a more accessible, more neighborly type of thing, and differentiated from what's either at Valley Fair or the Santana Road, so it has its own draw. And lots of cities have these. Pennsylvania, or rather Philadelphia has one in the old train station opposite the convention center, and there are these places that people really can engage in and be present from the community. They're also regional draws, but they're also community accessible. So it's partly how much we let ourselves go and imagine what might be, and not get stuck on how things work today.
Okay, so we'll Pat, we'll come here, and then Chris, and then back here. Yeah.
Well, so you mentioned kind of the intersection of Stevens Creek and Winchester, but, you know,
That's kind of the nexus. That's kind of like the white hot point.
yeah,
The
okay.
point.
And that is already a destination, just because we have Westfield and we have Santana Road. Maybe the city florist side is not as much of a destination, but I'm always sort of rooting for my section of Winchester, which is between Moore Park and Hamilton, that kind of. You know, we've had this debate, and I keep formulating and reformulating them in my mind. You know, Grand Boulevard versus Main Street, and you know, seems like that section between Tisch and Stevens Creek, you know, ought to be able to accommodate more traffic, and I'm voting for that. But the section from Moore Park to Hamilton, maybe we could think in terms of narrowing it down and making it more like a Campbell kind of an atmosphere. You know, I don't know. I'm still foggy on my vision, but what the pictures that you were showing is the kind where you have a lot of pedestrian traffic, and I don't know that we really want in my section to have people coming from all parts of San Jose to come in there. I just want it to be, like somebody else was mentioning, a great place for the neighbors who live there to mix and mingle, and especially, you know, pedestrians and seniors, and that sort of thing. So that's kind of my vision.
Yes, sir. I'm late to this book, and I have a personal problem with the vision. Why do you guys want to change? And I tell you from where I come, neighborhood exists in the entire valley, and the level of details which exist at the corners of the street is the maximum which can be supported by the level of people which live here. If you want to add more retail, it will be like someone said that in Campbell they finished buildings and the stores are empty because people are not investing money because there is nothing to support. Santana Row was done by someone which had a vision. Valley Fair have a vision. This is their livelihood. Why do we need to change? We have problem at the intersection. Okay, we can talk about the intersections, but why do we need to change? I'm not saying that it's wrong. I say I do not. I see that we are trying to find something to improve, but what to improve?
Again, I'm just trying to solicit. I'm not here to answer your question right now. I want to hear your questions and comments. So that's great. So thank you. Yes,
If I might be so bold as to answer your question, why do we need to change? Because Valley Fair is a soulless, consumerist hellhole. Excuse my language, but it just drives.
Come on.
But we cannot
Nah,
change.
okay, excuse my language. I
Let's
beg your
just be
pardon.
objective with.
But it is. It drives a consumerist mentality which destroys our environment and destroys people's finances for keeping up with the Joneses and stuff. Now,
so
to
again, please
move
just
to
keep
the
it
original
objective.
point, and that is, it's a chicken and egg conundrum. You want places that are fun to walk to. So you need to be more pedestrian friendly, and the Winchester corridor in between like 280 and Homestead is one of the most pedestrian unfriendly regions in the entire Silicon Valley. And so how can you make that more pedestrian friendly? That's got to happen so that the neighbors can walk up to the various businesses. If there isn't that sort of foot traffic, then it isn't going to be neighborhood businesses that can thrive there. It's going to be only Santana Rows that can thrive there as a large-scale destination as opposed to a neighborhood destination. Now, since the gentleman over there mentioned a pedestrian mall, I suggest that you look into Copenhagen's Stroget. It's S-T-R-O-G-E-T. With a slash through the O, S-T-R-O-G-E-T / through the O. It was one of the first, and it remains one of the largest pedestrian malls in all of Europe, and it's right in the heart of Copenhagen, and they banned automobiles way back in like the late 60s. And it's one of the most delightful places. Unfortunately, they put in some franchises there, which didn't used to exist, but it's still a great model for that. And I heartily agree that you want neighbors to be able to walk up to neighborhood-friendly retail. That's really important to get that sense of community. To close, something's got to be done to make that white-hot location of Stevens Creek and Winchester pedestrian-friendly. And I also have to agree, I think BRT, which is scheduled for Stevens Creek after the 522 El Camino line is done, it might be a solution to be able to move more traffic through there without increasing the vehicular capacity of it, which really can't happen.
I mean, we're not trying to get to solutions yet. I'm just
No
ideas,
problem.
just keep throwing them out.
Yeah. And you know, if we can do that and reduce the amount of actual automotive traffic while still being able to move people through that area and do it, you know, in an environmentally sound manner, that would be a huge win. Should have almost pointed out where those locations were on that chart there, on that map there, because it's a pretty important thing. Valley Fair and Santana Row aren't really going to change very much.
Well, they're
yeah, the
actually
Safeway
changing-
CVC corner has.
They're changing a fair amount, so
Yeah.
this is, I want to keep going because we got.
Go right ahead.
I want to keep us.
No, you're doing a great job.
I'm in. Yeah, I'm going to go back in the corner there after you guys.
I'm gonna step out of this role
Okay.
and take notes
All
out.
right.
I'm gonna look at this from an open space perspective. And one thing, I love Vancouver and I've traveled all over the world. Vancouver's actually one of my favorite cities. And actually I love the high density housing that they have there, but they have something there that we can't have here, which is open space. Because we don't have the space for the open space. And that's the only reason we need to balance in a city like this that's already park deficient. We live in a park deficient area, and we need to balance what we're building with open space. And right now, when we get open space, it's not enough for the new residents, and they've already stated that, and many times being with the people in the Parks Department, that they're not trying to sort of backfill the lack of open space that we already have in the area with the new dollars that are coming in for the developments. So something like Villar would be great in an area where there's a huge amount of open space. I mean, we've got, when you look at all those great pictures you showed at the beginning, with the placemaking in Vancouver, we don't have space for that right here. And I would love to see something like that. Or Stanley Park. We look at Stanley Park in the middle of Vancouver. We don't have that here. Are we ever going to have that here? And if we don't have planning here for that, it seems to me that the denser we get, the less we're thinking about that open space and that green space. So from my perspective, until you can think of first about the open space, where it's like going to come to service the current residents, and then the future residents, which is the place to actually bring all those people together, that you're just going to end up with density. So I'd like to see everybody stop and think first about where in that open space will come from.
28 acres. Freeway.
Well, that might be it, you know?
Yeah, in the back, and then we're going to keep going. We got a lot to cover.
Integrating Steve's idea and this other gentleman's idea on Winchester is basically Winchester is basically, in my opinion, a freeway. So I mean, basically build a freeway on top of it, and maybe go all the way to San Tomas and or Montague, San Tomas, that area, and then also not Montague, but Camden.
Sarah, San Tomas.
Go to San Tomas, and I don't care what you do with Stevens Creek, you know, but you could do the same thing with Stevens Creek as well. You put a freeway on top of it, what I'm saying. And then I know that they talked about road diet on Winchester, and I think that's really crazy at this point, but I'm saying take the area that you have once you have your freeway built, do whatever you want with road diet and whatever down below.
I'm going to take one more quick comment, Chris, real quick.
Well, my notion is that if you want to build these environments that are going to be that friendly to the communities, let those types of things come into the neighborhoods a little bit. For example, right over here, this whole DSW site, you know, those shops can kind of make their way into the neighborhood without actually penetrating the neighborhood too far, and yet provide a space, those type of comfortable spaces where on the other side of Stevens Creek right here on Cypress, the same can be done. That way, you know, people won't have to expect to travel down the boulevard to find those places. Be it Stevens Creek or Winchester. The grocery outlet there at Williams, the same thing can occur in a very good fashion there. Bringing it just far enough into the neighborhoods where, you know, it's not going to be strictly a a boulevard facing a fair.
Are you, Chris, can I clarify, are you talking, I'm fine with that. Are you talking about actually having them integrate with green space, or you're saying putting the building closer to the houses?
Well, integrating green space if it's possible, but make it a more bring the community-friendly areas a little bit closer in to the neighborhoods where there's opportunity.
So,
I don't know if that makes sense or.
last comment.
Okay, I'm gonna say something really dopey, but, you know, the problem with Winchester and Stevens Creek Boulevard is that it's not one. So when you're a consumer, when you're a visitor, you go to this or that or the other thing. And what I think would help is if we had used the airspace to add the green. And then, you know, my favorite thing used to be when I was a kid at Disneyland, monorail, that brings you in and out. Okay, have some out of the box thinking about how people can come there and put them in places where they will generate a lot of activity instead of just a destination here, one trip
So
here.
more integrated experiences.
Right, but use the airspace for the green or the park or the whatever that you want to bring in. And start it way down there on Winchester and bring it way out here, past the freeway on this side.
So that's a great little segment. Disney was one of the little cruise ships here, and you can see he's trying to cut little Daffy or whatever, trying to cut him off.
Huey.
Thank you. All right, so thank you. That was a good lesson in lots of slides and lots of conversation. I appreciate that a lot. I'm going to go on to the